resilience, right? Without your main attackers, the young lads stepped up massively, right? When Neri ran the show on the right, everything really worked out for you. And throughout the game, I think you were controlling the game in a way, but I still felt you were a little lackluster too, in major phases. What were your feelings till the 80th minute, and what were your feelings after Mikel Merino scored the first goal?
It was a good performance today, but it was Leicester at the end of the day. Leicester are more likely going to get relegated. That was a seventh win on the seventh loss on the trot, seventh loss without scoring a goal, second worst defense in all of the Prem. They're a poor team for the Premier League standards. So at the same time, it was a good win, but we needed to win because if we lost, it would have been absolutely disgraceful. But at the end of the day, long term, do I think we come in the Premier League as of right now with Hobart left in the squad? It's hard for me to see, honestly, but we'll see where we at. We'll see where we fall. Let's just continue to win.
Whilst I was watching today's game, I observed a couple of recurring situations for Leicester. Like, for example, if you talk about the double pivot, right? You have an NDD and a Somare, right? At one point in time, they used to be, I wouldn't say prolific, I would say talented, right? A couple of seasons back. And now you always see them, they're a yard or two short. They just have a tendency of losing the ball in their own half, right? And I've been seeing Leicester the last couple of fixtures, and to be honest, I wouldn't say disgusted would be the right word for this, but then I feel let down in a way that how did they manage to get from themselves from the championship to the Premier League with this state of the club, right? And rightfully they are going on a protest against the owners and all that, but you look at Luton Town, right? Look at Luton Town. How demolishing were they, right? They did stutter a couple of big sixes, fixtures, right? Specifically for Liverpool, I think we lost the game against them. But still, I feel Leicester, like you mentioned, the caliber is just not good enough, which is why I hit a conundrum when I saw that Arsenal was shifting the ball really well and they could break the lines, the first two lines of press. But then near the box, it was just like you're spamming the crosses inside and then there's no man inside the box, And similar situation for Chelsea too. I don't know if you saw the game yesterday. Pedro Neto attempting, they have a tendency of just taking their defenders on. They think they're too prolific to be attempting crosses. No. Cole Palmer started putting in the crosses, and that time they were caught napping, right? So for Arsenal, I feel you guys aren't lazy, but then you guys still need to, like, if you want to win the next couple of fixtures, there should be more solutions which should be presented, Now, when you talk about starting a Trossard as a number 9, I don't think that should be there. Even Mikel Merino, I don't know what you feel about that, being a makeshift 9. I think he went into the right positions to be scoring the goals and he was really clinical. But I still feel that it's just one game, We can't really create an assessment about Mikel Merino starting for you at the number 9. In fact, I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if you would agree with me on this or not, but if you start Sterling as a striker, there is a chance that he might end up doing well. Because Sterling for Chelsea, when he was playing as a number 9, given the path of regression that he's on, I totally agree with you that he's not up to the level. But the availability of players, depending on the availability, is, you just have a Sterling who you can actually adjust in that position. Trossard has played as a number 9, but looking at today's performance, I'm sure he must have given it his all in training, but you don't have any options left, right?
Yeah. No, I think Trossard is better suited off the left, to be honest. Because even today, again, even during the back half of this season when Saka has gone out, he's quietly going under the radar in terms of how he's been helping us through times in terms of getting assists, crucial assists. He got another one today, getting goals when needed. Trossard this season has quietly went under the radar with a pretty, not bad, but pretty good season
Yeah.
compared to the level. But what I would say with Sterling is for Arsenal fans, it's not only just ability. It's like it's just he looks like it's useless. So we don't get anything from that. Like for example, if you had a Chiesa coming in for Liverpool, or you had I don't know another player to name, but if you had maybe a Chiesa coming off the bench who didn't get a lot of time, or he's another player you just got this season. Chiesa at least comes in, he gives you that energy, he gives you that impetus. He might beat a man, he might not. Like he's gonna do something with Sterling. Sterling is just. it's just not working for him. And today, to be honest, for a lot of people, was the nail in the coffin that we don't trust him because for a lot of this time this season, he's just been buying average. Either his work rate has been buying average, the performance has been buying average, the ability has been buying average, and there's no output to match. So we're already very upset with players like Kai Havertz, who's a top scorer for the club. So if you're getting upset at Kai Havertz for not being clinical enough, you're getting upset at Martinelli for not being clinical enough, who scored goals for this Arsenal team, you're getting upset at other strikers, then a player like Sterling is definitely going to come under fire for this. He would come under fire in any top level scorer fighter for a Premier League title, and that's just the sad truth. I wanted the Raheem Sterling thing to work. I really, because I mean, who wouldn't want it to work? He's played through the Arsenal. Of course, I want it to work, but it's clearly not working. And I think the consensus for a lot of players is they'd rather see someone else, a fresh start, like a fresh youth face that they can potentially get behind and support freshly, than have a player like Sterling who's been around England, who's been around, and who's ultimately not provided what we've needed in the games he's already been given. So I think people are just ready for
True.
something different. Maybe if we rely on youth players anyway, or rely on different solutions anyway.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And there's another interesting statistic to all this. Even if Sterling is not performing for you, but the goals are coming in from everywhere. This season, the goals are well distributed, right? You had a Calafiori coming in on the 76th minute, and he had a decent influence. In fact, for the second goal, I think he was involved in the build-up, right? Yeah, and I didn't get to see much from Miles Lewis Kelly. I don't know if what are your thoughts on him tonight?
Yeah, to be honest, good. Overall, I mean, he wasn't really threatening it. Like, wasn't his best performance. I don't want to overly gas it, but right before the Miguel Moreno first goal,
Yeah.
lovely ball by Andre Ayew, played across goal, the face of the goal. He just gets the thing of a toenail to it just to turn it away. It keeps the game at 0-0. He made a clutch block at the back post. So to be honest, he did his part tonight. He defended pretty well. Didn't make any mistakes. Played passes, played but a solid performance, if any more than anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think. What about Hurian Timber? I felt in the first half he was trying to make something out of the situation. Not that he did anything wrong. I think he handled Jordan Ayew quite well. Second half, I felt he was being a little more ambitious, was getting into those half spaces and was connecting with the players. Um, but again, I think Arteta's game plan was to ensure that his fullbacks are a little passive because he was worried that maybe James Justin or Ayew, he has a little bit of flair. They might get past him, and there were moments where Leicester looked threatening, but they weren't really acting with any conviction, right? Um, yeah, but I think a tremendous job against Jamie Vardy and their number 11. I think their number 11 is quite an upcoming talent. I forgot his name. Yeah, I think he's got a good flair. He reminds me a bit of Taraba. Adel Taraba. I think he's got that flair.
It was a sticky one, but we've seen a lot of those go for Arsenal. So it might balance itself out. How do you feel going up against Wolves? So to be honest, I mean, you should be dispatching them. To be honest, I think you have the quality to dispatch them, especially with Mo Salah on this outrageous form. Like, what are your expectations going into that game tomorrow? And I mean, ultimately, you should feel confident about winning the league title. But does Arsenal potentially give you any sort of nerves as a Liverpool fan?
I think, yeah, for sure. Undoubtedly, I think Arsenal do give me a lot of nerves for sure. I think I heard a couple of Liverpudlians talking on YouTube about how Liverpool will ultimately bottle the season if Arsenal end up winning it, right? And I sort of agree with this. I think we've reached that stage of the game week where we have to admit to the fact that if Liverpool do not win the Premier League from here on, it is going to be a bottle job. Having said that, I think our chances against Wolves, man, Wolves have a couple of good players, to be honest. I think I'm a fan of Ayat Nouri, Matthias Kuna. I think you've already spoken about him in one of your videos. And they've had a couple of good acquisitions too, like Agdabu. You have a Gomez who's already playing for them. You've got a Doughty. Again, Doughty, I don't rate him much. But yeah, when he started off for Wolves, I think he started his career with Wolves, right? And then he went to Tottenham after that. Yeah, yeah. And he's back at Wolves now. Um, yeah, I mean, overall, this season they haven't been impressive at all. They've had a shift in the management, but still, bro, they've had two victories on the go, right? They beat Aston Villa, even though they did not really play any prolific football in that game. At the end, they're the ones who are scraping the fixtures out too, like they're just getting away from them. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a tough competition. I'm not really positive about it, to be honest. I don't feel really confident about it going into it. Gakpo had a niggle the other night. I don't think he's gonna start because we have a double game week, right? Again, like because of that fuck all weather that happened that day in Liverpool. We've been struggling because of that. We have around 8 fixtures, league fixtures in the next 1 month, and we've already played one out of it. But yeah, it's the congestion, and to be honest, the way players are going down right now, the way they're getting injured, I think we've been in the green spot so far. But then I still feel that we might just we might incur a few injuries. Touchwood, I hope we don't, but I have a feeling. I don't know why. I think because given the congestion, given the run in, right, given the fixtures that we are yet to play, I think it's going to be really tough.
Like you said, yeah.
Yeah. And there's no, like, for sure, like, Gakpo's feeling it right now. Trent hasn't been fully fit, I feel. The way he performs, he's not really been up there. Even Conor Bradley, I think he's feeling the pressure of playing game in, game out. And these are young players that we are talking about, right? Conor Bradley and the academic products. I feel Harvey Elliott should have been given more faith. He should have been trusted a little more by Slot. He should have been given more game time. For Chiesa, man, I think he's off it. He's completely off it. The performance against Plymouth, bro, he was completely off his pace. He couldn't dictate the play at all. He lost the ball 29 times against a team that is in the bottom, in the relegation zone, in the championship. Imagine, bro. How embarrassing is that?
I was giving Chiesa praise. He was Sterling maybe better than Chiesa. Who knows?
No, I think they're floating the same boat, to be honest. but but still, for Sterling, I still feel for him. You know why? Because there was one point in time, we saw a Raheem Sterling who used to score at least 18 goals a season, 15, 18, 20 goals a season for City. And then you saw this regression, and I had a couple of people come to me telling me that he doesn't have any flair. He can only make a run at defenders. He can take on people. He's got a little burst. And I think he is obviously aging. I think he's 30, right? He's 30 already, or
29, 30.
29, 30. But he's lost his pace for sure. You can clearly see that. At Chelsea, he rejuvenated his form a bit in a few games by playing as a striker, which is why I mentioned that maybe play him as a striker. Just try it out. Maybe, it might work for Arsenal. You never know. I think Arteta might do it. Maybe next game, just wanting to rotate the squad a bit. And that guy is known to miss a lot of sitters, especially against Real Madrid in the Champions League too. But from the far post, man, just like 2 yards out, 3 yards out, barely.
Just against Real Madrid in the Premier League, I've seen him miss crazy ones. Like you said, back post, 2 yards on miss. And that's what I'm scared of for Raheem Sterling. I just hope that because me and KP were also we were talking today. He was saying a lot about do we need to see Sterling again for the rest of the season? And I said he's gonna come a moment where he's gonna play again. He might even play next game. So listen, he had a poor performance tonight, no doubt about it. But if you think Sterling is not gonna get his number called ever again in an Arsenal shirt, I'd be surprised. Unless one of these youth players from the academy rip it up when they come in, like late 1 year, or even just give us something, then I definitely think you'll see Sterling again. Definitely get minutes. Probably even see him next game. Maybe from the start again. So I just want him to step up whenever he's asked. That's all I can ask for. Just step up when your number is called. I mean, not only just Raheem Sterling, but I mean not for Martin Odegaard. Step up when you're asked to step up. Same thing with defenders. Same thing with everybody. Step up when you're asked to step up. And we'll see where we fall. Just do your job and we'll see where we fall.
Right. Another thing, I know Emil Smith Rowe was quite hell bent on getting some game time, which is why he departed to Fulham for sure. And I mean, you cannot stop a player like Jurgen Klopp. Literally pleaded Coutinho to stay at the club for another season. Do you think if you would have requested, if Arteta would have asked him to stay for another season, he would have, given the fact that towards the business end of the season, you do need French players, right? Do you think ESR sending him off to Fulham was a mistake.
That you need to be honest is a difficult question to answer. But I'll answer like this: It's selling Smith Rowe this summer was only a mistake because we didn't get someone better. Because you've left yourself not only short of body, but you've left yourself short in option. You've no run like when Odegaard went down, Mikel Arteta refused to play Waniri in the 10. When everyone around watching Arsenal was saying, "Hey, listen, we have Waniri right here. Play him in the 10." He refused to play Waniri in the 10. He played Trossard in the 10. He tried to play Kai Havertz there. He tried to do all types of things there. But I digress. I'll say this: Smith Rowe, I say it's only a mistake because even at the back end of last season, when Smith Rowe was coming off the back of an injury, so I will context and put it in that context, he didn't really do anything to really keep his place, if I'm being very honest. If I'm being
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't.
he didn't really do anything to really say, wow, maybe I think one game at the back end of last season, he had a really good game, one man of the match.
Yeah.
One game. I remember against Aston Villa, he cut when before we subbed off Odegaard and we lost that game. Smith Rowe came on, we lost that game, and I'm not saying it was I'm not saying it was his fault, but like that wasn't just one instance that pops into my head. So I think yes, it's a mistake we didn't sell. We sold Smith Rowe only because though we did not replace him with maybe a quality replacement, whether that be a striker, whether that be another 10 to give Martin Odegaard help, or a wing option because he used to play off the left wing. So I just think not replacing him body wise or quality wise was the mistake more so than selling him.
Right, I feel you. I think, see, my take on this is I feel I get it, he wasn't really leveraging anything out of it, right? So he would have been considered as dead wood. But given the condition of the club at this point in time, if you start losing fixtures, I think it might, yeah, fans might think a little different than what we think.
There's been a lot of fan discourse around Arsenal's upper management because over recent weeks with with no signings coming in, we've started to look like above. Like a lot of reports have been coming out about who's running since Edu was on garden leave, who is running transfers behind the scenes for Arsenal, other than Mikel Arteta, who's obviously the mouthpiece for the club on a playing level. We've heard about Aine, we've heard about other guys upstairs, we've heard about the Cronkies, and ultimately, I think those guys have been getting a lot of the blame for Arsenal fans more so than any player, more so than the manager himself. Yes, people on a base level are looking at the manager and are blaming the manager, especially when trophies are not coming in alongside with the injuries and poor results. I wouldn't even say poor results. I still think we're doing pretty okay for circumstances.
Yeah.
Like I said, fans are gonna call for a set regardless. The people that won Mikel Arteta out last season, even though we went second and nearly won the league title. So there's always gonna be people that want the manager to change unless he wins a major honor. But I do think a lot of the fans are upset with the board this season for leaving us short because we think this year going up against Liverpool, and I think even in myself, if Arsenal bought in a striker, if Arsenal bought in at least one player in that attacking line to change our hopes, I think, listen, bro, if we are able to keep pace with Liverpool are probably going to right now. Right now, with us not carrying that threat with our frontline options depleting even more so since then, it's like I mean, right now, we're wishing on a star for anything miraculous to happen. Like, it's literally not in our hands. We have to hope Liverpool drop points in 3 games.
Yeah.
And we drop points in none to even take the lead again. But I mean, we have to play you guys once, so maybe that could possibly be one, but we have to win that game for it to even count as picking up points.
Right. I think fair enough. When it comes to the transfers, I agree with you for sure. I think the owners need to take some accountability for what has gone down, right? But I still feel I think maybe, some ownership just focus on the business side of things. Like you already know who I'm going to talk about. I think the Tottenham as a football club is a prime example, right? They don't care if they fucking win the league or not. But I still feel that your owners, they might have given Arteta. So they already knew that you guys don't have the players that you probably would have needed, right? Now, Jan transfer window is more like, taking a risk out there to like get a player that might fit in the winter, right? In the business end of the season. But it doesn't really always work out for you. Like, and plus you wanted to get an Oli Watkins and you had so much fluck from Unai Emery. He wasn't really happy about it, was quite vocal about it. That's quite daring of Arteta to um, try to get a striker who's a primal playing 11 for them, right? But at the same time, I think, yeah, none of the best players would want to leave a club that they're already in and they already have a project in hand that they need to finish off. So I think, given that, I think it really works in the favor of owners not to bring in any transfers. And I think the conversation which might have happened in the backdrop is Mikel Arteta and the owners. I think they might have told him that we entrust your process, right? We have faith in your process. So for the next season, we are at least giving you one more season, get more transfers if you need two strikers, because the latest rumors that I've heard is you guys are targeting two strikers now in the summer transfer window. So I think potentially, given that if that might happen, I think Mikel Arteta deserves another season for sure. Even though managers have not gotten away with this, prime examples: Pochettino, Frank Lampard, Graham Potter, De Zerbi, so many managers, right? But yeah, man, I think for me, honestly, like I think you guys should have won at least one trophy, but yeah, given the injury record, it sort of derailed. But still, it doesn't matter if you have injuries or not, because at the end of the day, when a manager progresses or leaves the club, his CV will be that one point of credibility which another owner will look at, or even the club. If he stays at the club, you will talk about not winning a trophy other than the FA Cup in his opening season for the next 6-7 years if that happens, right? So I still feel like, given Man United, look at them, man. They're pathetic, they're awful, but they managed to win trophies, by hook or crook, even if the state of play is against them, right? So this is one, yeah.
Double sword to that, because I also think too. Yes, Man United win trophies, but that just papers over the cracks. I remember years on the Arsenal, especially under Wenger, when things were shit. I mean, not as bad as Man United, to be honest, to be fair, but all we were walking away with was barely top four or scraping top four, and maybe a FA Cup, maybe a Europa League run. But did that paper over the cracks? Did that change the fact that we were just really not a poor club? We had players, we had talent, but what were our aims in the major honors? What we weren't getting in the Champions League. We went 7 years without getting into the Champions League. We went still years without winning a Premier League title. If you're talking about building towards winning majors, I think it's looking. You have to look deeper than we didn't win the FA Cup this season. We didn't win the Carabao Cup this season. We have to look. We have to look at philosophy, changing the culture of the club, changing the mindset. None of these players. I can't name you one of the players that are in our squad that has won major honors, other than maybe a few of the Chelsea guys that came in with the Champions League potentially, or Jorginho maybe with league titles elsewhere, or others. But like, significance of winning. How many players have won at the highest level? You have to build that. You have to, even the manager himself, under Pep, yeah, he won stuff, but it's still his first job. You have to learn and build those things. And I think the progress we've shown, for us to even be where we are right now circumstantially, and be 15 games without a loss in the Premier League. In this league, we've seen points drop by every single team. Man City are struggling right now. Like it's not easy, this league. It's not easy, and I give Mikel Arteta a lot of credit, and that's what I'll say. I just want to say I want to give him a lot of credit, because it's not easy when things are going against you. Not only refereeing decisions, I still think went against us in a few games. Some performances I think were poor, yes, but I think a lot of stuff went against us. Decisions as well, like I said, and injuries. I give Mikel Arteta a lot of credit, for negotiating and navigating this way through the season so far. But we'll see. For example, if we crash on burn out of the Premier League title race, and maybe we finish third, potentially, or a really bad slip, maybe we have it at the back end of the season, and maybe we get knocked out of the Champions League early, maybe you have a different conversation. But again, the board didn't back him with any signings, so I would always preference it with that. Did we have the squad? Did we even start the season with the squad necessary to compete? Most Arsenal fans will tell you, no, we didn't sign a striker. We didn't properly sign a forward player. We knew we needed that last year. So, and then we lost 4 players this season. So again, context for a lot of this. Just context, that's all.
And I'll tell you one more thing. I know that Kai Havertz is a really good talent for sure, and he replicates his talent on the pitch. He performs well for you, but in phases, right? It's like not in a string of performances. You'll see him performing well in 2 games out of 4 or 5, and then the other games he's like missing his shots and all that. But he turns up for sure in other games. But when you actually need him, he's not shown up in majority of the fixtures. Right? Last season, I think he was really good for sure. Even this season, like in phases, he was good. Um, but I still feel like decisions like such, when it comes down to the manager deciding which player should they acquire, right? I think this is where the manager who's actually good, right? Who's actually not a manager, but who's looking at the structure of the club, right? Because the players define the personalities and the club define the structure of the club. I feel Kai Havertz is gold, but you needed a striker. Like, so I don't understand why the fuck would you sign a Mikel Merino, get a Kai Havertz, and Raya, obviously he was on loan. His transfer went through this season, and a couple of good players. Even the academic products came in this season, right? They were nowhere to be seen before that. But I think one decision he went in wrong with, he should have gotten a striker in the summer transfer window, is what it is. Even a John Duran could have made it a difference.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just to end the podcast, man, just one last topic that I really wanted to lay emphasis on is the run in is getting tougher and a little more complicated, right? You have West Ham, Nottingham, United, Chelsea, Fulham, Everton, and Brentford, the next 7 fixtures. Okay. Where do you think you're going to drop points? So
I
it's
heard Forest in there. I heard Newcastle in there.
West Ham, Forest, United, Chelsea, Fulham, Everton, Brentford. Where do you think, is there a chance you might win everything, or because you're facing West Ham next weekend, you have a week to prepare for it? I think you're gonna be ready for that for sure. I think you're gonna beat West Ham.
Forest midweek, and then we have United, right?
Yeah.
I think no, and this goes to the credit of Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. Even with all the injuries, so it's hard for me to go into those games just off of just thinking in my head. It's hard for me to think and say, "Oh yeah, that game we could potentially drop points." Like for example, I remember earlier this season when we drew the Fulham or we drew the Everton or we what other pictures were in that run? We drew the Fulham, we drew the Everton in there. We drew the Chelsea as well when we played at Stamford Bridge, but I think we're playing at home against West Ham, playing at home against
You
no, playing away against
no,
Everton.
you're playing home against West Ham, home against Chelsea, home against Fulham, and home against Brentford.
So I'm back in all the home games. Maybe Forest away will be a difficult game because they have a good run, but we'll see about that. They get up, they had 4 results today, losing to Fulham.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I can see off the top of my head where we lose or where we potentially drop points. Do I think we might drop points? It's very possible because we don't have the front line that can take chances. I think we're going to be clinical in every single game to take their chances. So if you had to tell me one of those games you would drop points, would it surprise me? No. But off the top of my head, honestly, I can't say I would know where we drop points, to be honest. But it's just because that's how I view our defense very strongly. And I just think if I view our defense that strongly, I know we could keep clean sheets at a crazy rate. If we could keep a clean sheet, all we need is 1 goal. So that's what I'm banking on. Clean sheet and 1 goal potentially, and maybe two to seal it.
So, the reason why I mentioned the run in was because I was comparing Liverpool's and Arsenal's, right? So, Liverpool face Wolves, Villa, City, Newcastle, Southampton, Newcastle again in the EFL, and then Everton. I still feel comparatively Liverpool have a lighter,
Really?
when it comes to the competitors. Then the reason, I'll give you a reason for that. I feel
Okay.
Wolves, Villa, City, Southampton, these four have had certain redundancies this season. They've struggled too. Liverpool and Arsenal both haven't lost a single Premier League game since September of last year, right? Both the clubs, right? You lost to Newcastle last. I think we lost to Brentford. Um, Given the state of play, given the run in form, I still feel like we have players available right now, thankfully, by the grace of God. so, so I think Liverpool have a better chance in the next 7 fixtures. I think we might drop a game or two, but only draws. I don't see us losing any game.
In there against Newcastle, maybe one of the I think maybe the Newcastle League game. You play Newcastle away as well, right?
No, we play Newcastle at home, and then the Carabao is obviously gonna happen at Wembley. Yeah.
And you play City at home too.
We play City away. No, so Newcastle home, Southampton home, Everton home, and Villa and City are away. Yeah, yeah. I still feel against City we'll be okay. I don't know why. I feel Marmoush, that hype is there for sure. He's
Liverpool against City just because of the counter attack. City cannot stop the counter.
yeah. They're really susceptible defensively, right? And they've been poor with the counter press too. But this tonight they were really good. I think the game that they played against Newcastle, they were exceptionally good. Even even the players that were not involved in the build-ups, the positioning was as such that I think it was again a Pep masterclass. I don't know from where did he all of a sudden replicate the performance that we are used to seeing, but yeah. And then I think honestly, like given how it has always been, season on season, I think game week 35, in fact game week 36, Liverpool versus Arsenal is gonna be the game that defines what really goes down.
No, listen, if Arsenal could get to game week 36, you said game week 36?
Yeah.
That's what? That would mean other than that, there'll be two after that, there'll be 2 games left.
Yeah.
If Arsenal go into that game and then the league title is anywhere near close to being a potential race,
Yeah.
again, you have to tip your cap to Mikel Arteta. I don't care what happens from now to the end of the season. If we're mathematically still in the title race, but game week 36, with no Saka for half a season, with no Martinelli, potentially maybe he might come back by then. He probably have a month under his belt by then. No Havertz, poor signings. Top, like I mean, if you talk, refereeing decisions go against us earlier in the season, if we for some reason end up anywhere near Premier League title going into an Anfield game, I think you have to first of all give credit to Mikel Arteta and these players for the effort. But I think we should be 100% play that game with absolutely no fear. And I think that would probably be a really scary game for Liverpool. If we manage to get it that far, the pressure would literally be off of us. Because at that point, Liverpool have led all season. It's still like up against Arsenal. It's still not in your hands by then. I mean, unless we miraculously take the lead again. That would unless you drop points before then and we take the lead and we are somehow leading the title race going into that game, that's a different story.
Yeah. So I'll surprise you with one more situation. So just to make things interesting, right? Like you mentioned, if Arsenal are about to overlap or they are equally in tandem with Liverpool nearing game week 36. For Arsenal, the last 2 fixtures are going to be against Newcastle and Southampton. Southampton, again, I've written them off already, but Newcastle, I think they've smoked you twice this season, right? Literally. Yeah, at home. That'll be tricky. Even if you draw, like I think losing 2 points at the business end of the season matters a lot, especially in the run in. But for Liverpool, again, Brighton away, right, on the road, I think that's going to be tricky. But I think Brighton this season have been quite poor against. Yeah, exactly. So they're pretty hot and cold. We are facing Crystal Palace in game week 38 again. I think by then it'll already be decided if Arsenal's going to win it or Liverpool. You never know, bro. We might just be pushed down by Nottingham, right? the form that they're in, right? You never know, man.
They lost today, to be fair to them.
Yeah.
We'll see. I hope for Arsenal's sake, just so people don't watch the season on autopilot for entertainment's point of view, for content point of view, even as an Arsenal fan. I hope that we still are in somewhat of a title race by the Liverpool game. Because to get there, we have to go through 2 months of absolute hell.
Yeah, man.
Because these players are gonna have to play damn near every minute of every single damn game.
Yeah.
That means youth players would have to have stepped up. That means players that have played 90 minutes almost every game this season are going to continue to have to play 90 minutes. I'm talking about Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, I'm talking about Lewis Kelly, I'm talking about Odegaard, I'm talking about Declan Rice, who today ran himself into the floor. Declan Rice, another player. I mean, like to get even anywhere near a title race from here on out,